Wow. I don't know where to start. I was thinking about it. This might take longer. I might not be able to post it on the 27th because I was sitting here thinking about how long this is actually going to take to record. But I figured I'd go ahead and just start now since I'm on here anyway. So, wow, 5 years. 5 years. So for those of you who don't know anything about me, and if you're watching this, I went into rehab when I was 16. And it was a residential rehab facility 3 hours away from my current home. And I lived there for 15 months. So a little over a year. It was in Roanoke, Virginia. That's where I'm from, Northern Virginia. And it was a long year. So, I mean, in this video, I've made testimonial videos before, and they've always been based off of my story. But this one I want to be a little bit different. I want this one to be more based off of my feelings and what I was feeling as I was going through something. Because I think that's what can help you guys the most anyways. Because feelings aren't something to mess around with. Definitely not. You have to learn how to control them, but you gotta feel it. You gotta feel it. So anyways, everything started, like when I think back to where is the root of this? Where did it come from? And let me tell you, it's easy to just forget about this now. You know, I'm working hard, I work full time, I compete, I have my art stuff. You just get so caught up in like day-to-day living that it's so easy to forget where you came from. And that is when you really have to pull yourself together, remember who you are. And the way I do that, I find it most effective is I had tons of cards and notes and letters and videos and photos of when I was in the program. And, you know, I didn't get to see my family. I didn't get to see my friends. I didn't get to see anyone. I would get a visit here and there, but it's not like real life at all. You are plucked out of this world and placed in a safe, solid, foundational place where you are safe. You are safe. You don't have to worry. And obviously when you first get there, you don't think like that because you're all messed up in the head when you first get there. You don't think like that immediately. But you're safe. I remember thinking 6 months into the program, wow, I feel different. I feel so different. And I was just like, man, there is absolutely no way I'd be alive right now. 6 months into the program, this is what I'm thinking. I don't think I would have made it much longer. And I know you guys are probably like, okay, well, we don't even know what happened. So let me back up. So when I think back to when it all started, up here at least, I can remember all the way back to 6-7 years old. Thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I was kind of a chunky kid. Most kids hold a little chubbiness, but you know, you got your skinny kids too. But I was a chunky kid, and I just remember having all these little skinny friends and wondering why I wasn't like them and all of that, you know. But that all started when I was super duper young, like 6, 7 years old. Obviously, I didn't do anything about it until I was about 12. So, for those of you who don't know, I went into rehab for eating disorders, self-harm, and depression, and suicidal tendencies. Which is, you meet me now and you're like, you? But, yeah. So, I mean, we'll start with the eating disorders, but those all started when I was 12. And I remember starting to refuse food, starting to get kids' meals instead of, you know, adult meals or whatever. You know, that is when I remember the tendencies starting, when I was 12. So at that time, the whole family was also going through a major, very close death in the family. My grandfather lived with us. I was extremely close to him. Miss him to death, but I'll see him again soon. Maybe not soon, but one day. And that was really tough. So when he passed away, things kind of kicked into gear. I remember really, really, really going through such a hard time trying to just manage those feelings, because I mean, I held his hand when he passed. I was there. The last person he opened his eyes and looked at was me. And I remember that moment so vividly, and I'm so glad I do. Because, you know, I know he's in a better place. And look what I've gotten out of it. Like, I want to change people's lives. But I didn't know that back then. So, when we were going through all that, after he passed, because he lived with us, him and my grandma, I kind of felt like I was the only one who could support everyone. I don't know why I felt that way. I'm an empath. I'm such a feeler. Always trying to help people. Always trying to get them through. And I have 2 little brothers and 2 older siblings, and at the time, my older siblings were in college and getting ready to go into college, kind of doing their own thing. My dad worked full-time. My mom was really crazy busy taking care of my grandma. And I didn't want to interrupt that, because I knew grief needs to happen. But I didn't have to make this choice, but I made the choice to suppress my grief. And it really kicked me in the butt. I have 2 little brothers who I love to death. And at the time, I had felt like, you know, everybody else is busy. I got this. Let me take care of them. You know, 3 of us will stay over here. We'll kind of do our own thing. Make sure we got it taken care of. Y'all do what you need to do. And that was kind of where I was at. But little did I know how stressful and how big of a task I was taking on. Especially not allowing myself a grief period. And so that's kind of the trigger that kind of shot me into space, because that was the time I had first started cutting myself. I remember that first moment And guys, I'm not shy about this. I would not be recording a video about this, you know, if I didn't want to share it. But that's when I started cutting, and that's something that I have to live with every single day now. You know, there is not one day that goes by where I don't look down at my arms and legs and be like, you know, that's where I came from. And that's how I look at it now. But I used to be really ashamed of my scars. Used to be really, really ashamed. Just tried to hide them. Everything. But that's when that first started. The cutting. And started very small. Literally one cut. You know, but that's all it takes. That's all it takes to get started with something like that. And it is like, you never, ever want to deal with that kind of addiction. Ever. ever. Oh my God. But like when I think back, I just can't believe it. You know? I mean, I do believe it. Obviously, it was me. But I can't believe it. It's like, wow, that was me. Like, that's also kind of when my eating disorders kicked off. I was sad. I was depressed. There were plenty of people I had in my life that weren't good influences on me. Plenty that I am so thankful for. And I had started eating in my room. I'd throw my food out the window. I'd chew it up and then spit it in my napkin. I would refuse to eat it all together. You know, I'd flush it down the toilet. And that was kind of like how it started. It was just those little baby steps to really screwing myself. And so, you know, after that, it became evident to me, because my mom started to catch on. She was like, you need to stop doing this. But, you know, that made me want to do it even more, you know, and I was not happy with myself. I hated myself. My comfortable normal weight at the time was around 140, 135, 140. And when I went into rehab, I was 98 pounds because all of this happened between the ages of 12 and 16. So there were 4 years where I was going to school, I was going to sports, I'd pass out all the time. I'd become a bulimic because I knew I couldn't just keep throwing away and refusing food because my life just, I couldn't. And it was something I did after all the time. Like, honestly now, and I told you this is gonna get a little graphic. So, I mean, turn this off now if you don't feel like you can handle or you want to think about this, or if you're still going through it. I actually personally recommend you continue to watch. But I just remember, like, now when I throw up, like when I'm sick or whatever, it brings back these feelings, these memories, and I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. So like when I get sick now, shut the door, lock the door, nobody look at me, nobody talk to me, nobody touch me, like leave me alone. Just because it's so much more than just being sick to me, because it's up here. And it's a hard thing to kind of live with every day, because do I want to do it? No, I have no desire to want to make myself throw up anymore. Absolutely not. Do I have my moments? Yeah. I mean, it's always kind of in the back of your head. Sometimes you have to catch yourself. But we'll talk about that later. So, I'm sorry guys, I'm a little all over the place. I didn't really plan this because I wanted to kind of just wing it, but I think it's gonna pay off. So, from there, so my cutting got so much worse. I remember, oh man, I have a couple stories that are just like, oh, cutting was, honestly, I could say probably just as bad as the eating disorders, if not a little bit worse. It's a very, very addictive thing, which is, you know, if you've never gone through that, eating disorders or cutting, because they're totally in the same emotional addiction category, then I don't expect you to totally understand. It's not like a substance addiction. It is like you hate yourself. I hated myself so much, I felt like I needed to punish myself. That I shouldn't even be alive. You know, like, I will say, I've tried to kill myself on multiple occasions. And that is not something that I'm as usually as open and you know, I freely talk about as much as, you know, the actual addictions. But it's real. It's real and it happens. And, you know, I remember those moments that I was just miserable. You know, I had to hide my arms all the time. I was a soccer player. I remember going to practice and they're like, gosh, Rachel, it's like 100 degrees out. Why are you wearing long sleeves? And I always had to hide. Always. And I was always in pain. Because it was always open. My entire arm. All the way up to my shoulder. All the way up here. I've got scars all the way down. And down my legs. I even started to cut up in my ribs. You know, when my family started to get a little more suspicious, I'd do it under my panty line. So, you know, when they checked my body or saw me in a swimsuit, they wouldn't see it. I'd even done the back of my neck so I could hide it with my hair. And it was an addiction, guys. It was so scary. So scary because something that started, the first cut that I have ever done on my body, I remember I was sitting on the kitchen counter, just overwhelmed. I had a moment where grief was just overwhelming me. I had really, really been hurt by a friend, and I felt like I had no one. You know, I felt like I had all this responsibility at, I think, 13 years old, 13, 14 years old, and I was miserable, and I was sad, and I was broken, so broken. And I remember that first cut, I was sobbing. I was just sobbing. And I'm not crying. I am such a happy person now. I hope you know me. No, but like, and now that I look back, it's like, that was the moment that I should have avoided. Like, that is where it started. You know, and my eating disorders didn't get bad until my cutting got bad. So that is literally where it started. But after that, day in, day